Well, welcome to the Coach's Corner. I thought we were going to have the summer off, but as most of our audience is aware, there was a big announcement recently that Emory and Henry College and the Old Dominion Athletic Conference are postponing conference competition and championships for fall and winter sports through the end of 2020's calendar year. So we wanted to bring on Emory and Henry Athletic Director Ann Crutchfield to break down exactly what this means. So Ann, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for doing this, Brent. I'm looking forward to being able to share some information with everyone.
Yeah, and obviously this is not a decision that was just made yesterday. Can you kind of give us a look behind the curtain and just talk about how decisions like this are made on the conference level?
You know, I don't think anybody could have ever envisioned that we would be looking at August on the calendar and thinking about anything other than our athletes coming back to get ready for fall sports. I don't think any of us could have wrapped our minds around this in March, but it's where we are, and it's been the culmination of weeks and weeks and weeks of conversations. And we thought we were on a positive trend. There's some announcements by the conference earlier that folks were really looking to limit some travel. We talked about originally to try to work within our conference to change start times so that our teams didn't have to spend nights in hotels, and to try to play at some neutral sites to help with travel. And we tried every scenario that we could, but then in the last few weeks, you started to see an increase in the number of COVID cases. And instead of the trajectory being downward, now it was going back up. And as we continue to investigate and look, I mean, the ADs have met every week now for the last several weeks, and before that every 2 weeks, to try to figure out a scenario that could keep our student athletes safe. But then when the numbers started moving in the direction they were, it just became more and more evident that asking our kids to come back, to crowd them into buses to travel for hours together, to try to put them in hotel rooms, that wasn't what was the safest scenario for them. And as much as we want to play, and we do, I mean, I'm an old coach. I can't imagine not playing. It just wasn't what was best for our kids. So that's how the decision came about. And then it was vetted with the conference presidents, and the presidents ultimately made that decision. So, and it was across the board. We felt like it was what was best to protect our student athletes.
And I know there was probably, dozens of different plans and considerations that are going to be made. And I'm sure one of the most popular questions was there consideration given to having some sports postponed while others that have kind of more natural social distancing involved in the sport, have them move forward?
The NCAA has been instrumental in the decision-making process as we go. And they've kind of categorize sports into level 1, level 2, level 3 based on the amount of contact. So you're looking at sports like golf, tennis, swimming, where there's not so much contact as being a little less risky. And, there was some discussion about would schools play those sports in the fall. But then again, you look at the nature of our conference and the amount of travel that's involved. The contact for us in worrying about those student athletes wasn't so much on the golf course or the tennis court or in the pool. It was getting them from point A to point B and being able to do them safely. And then you also know, too, that when you travel, if you watch the COVID numbers, I feel like I watch COVID numbers like a stockbroker watches the ticker at the bottom of the page. That we're asked to travel to some spots in the Commonwealth that have some pretty high numbers right now. And so taking them away from our campus and putting them in that environment, again, just didn't feel like the right choice for our kids. So we decided that we would just, to be safe for everyone, we would push everything back to that January 1st date.
I think you've kind of touched on this, Ann, but at the end of the day, was there one thing that kind of all of the ODAC administrators kind of kept coming to as that hurdle or that speed bump that we just couldn't get over to really have competition this fall?
You talk about internal conflict. I find myself a lot of times caught in a boxing match between my head and my heart. One's telling me to do one thing and one's telling me to do the other. And I think that was pretty commonplace for all the ADs. in our hearts, we wanted to play. We want our kids to have that. I mean, they're athletes. They want to play. That's what they're here to do. Our coaches want to compete. And, as supporters, we want to be there as fans to cheer them on and be able to support them. But at the end of the day, we had to make the best decision that was going to protect their health and safety, and make that decision with our heads and not our hearts. And so ultimately it came down to that.
And I'm imagining there was also a realization as you kind of work through all these different scenarios that even if we could do some of these safety precautions, that what we were going to put out there probably wasn't going to be something that was as satisfying of a competition season.
I mean, no, there are going to be some restrictions in place to keep all of our students safe once they return to campus. And so at this particular point in the pandemic, it would just be impossible to really create a practice scenario that we felt like could get our athletes ready to perform at their best. And so we want to be able that we're making the best experience for them as athletes. We want to put our best teams on the field. We want to keep our kids safe. I think you have to keep in mind that this has not been a traditional summer for anyone. So, our student athletes haven't been able to get into gyms and do things that they normally would do to come back to school ready to hit the ground running in the fall for our fall sports. And so it's going to take some time to get them up to speed to really start to be able to hone in on those skills and the physical conditioning that we need to do for them to be safe. So we just got to roll with it. It's not ideal. It's not perfect, but we have a choice to make. We can either feel sorry and be disappointed and all those things I agree with, or we can say, okay, we got to pick ourselves up. We got to move forward, and we're going to use this as an opportunity to get better and be the best version of Emory and Henry we can be.
So I think the $1 million question, Ann, is what does the fall look like for our student athletes?
Well, fortunately, we're waiting for final approval, but it looks like the NCAA is going to grant a blanket waiver with regards to playing in practice seasons. At Division III, you have a certain number of weeks that constitute a season. And I'll use winter sports, for example. You have a 19-week season. So what that means then is in the fall, coaches can't do skill work or athletically related activities with their teams out of season. They can do strength and conditioning work, but they can't go in and have individual workouts or anything of that nature. Now with this new waiver, once if it's approved like we anticipate it will be, it will give us 114 days to work with our student athletes and compete. And so we can break those 114 days up any way that we want to. So for fall sports, under the specific guidelines of resocialization to sport that the NCAA has recommended, and then working with our state and local health officials to determine what's going to be the best way for us to work with our athletes in terms of small groups, they can start to work on skill-specific things with their coaches. It means that our winter sports will now have an opportunity to work individually with their coaches. And we'll be looking at their schedules because obviously winter sports compete in November and December. So we're going to have to make some adjustments to that. So they'll really have more access. Coaches will have more access to their athletes now than they've really ever had before. So, in looking on the bright side, that gives us an opportunity, say, for a first-year student who comes in for a fall sport and has 2.5 or 3 weeks of practice, and then they're on the competition field. Now coaches really get an opportunity to work with them individually. They get a chance to meet their teammates and really create those bonds that make successful teams. Coaches really have an opportunity to evaluate students to find out, can they really help us on the playing field, or do they need more time for development? I think the 114-day scenario is actually a really great thing and a neat thing. And I think for our student athletes, it's going to be advantageous for sure.
Well, when you're dealing with COVID-19, and obviously there's things that you make the decision to postpone. but that doesn't mean that all of the problems are solved at this point. And so moving to the spring is a great decision, but it still brings about some issues. So I'm wondering, can you talk about, now we're going to have what was formerly kind of 3 distinct seasons that are all going to be kind of going on right around the same time. Talk to folks that maybe don't understand that, about the challenges that's going to produce for the athletic department.
It's funny you mentioned that. I told my husband the other day that I'll see him January 1st, and then I'll probably see him again July 4th next year. That'll be the next time I get to see my family, because it will definitely be a wild ride. I mean, we're going to essentially condense a whole year of athletics into about 5.5 months. So it'll be game on every day. And, I think about that from a student's perspective. What a cool spring. I mean, you're talking about something going on campus every day. There's something going on campus every day. And, we'll be like Waffle House. We'll be running 24/7 around here. But so, we'll just figure it out. We just have to figure it out. We know we're going to have to reach out and ask for some help, for some additional resources to get the staffing we need. I mean, we want it to be a great experience for our athletes. We want it to be a great experience for our students here on campus. For folks that are interested in our teams, we want to have a great streaming experience. We want to make sure that we've got adequate athletic training coverage to keep them all safe. And but we'll figure it out. And we've got from now to January 1st to do that. And we're gonna, like I say, we're just gonna put our heads together, and we're gonna ask some folks for some help, and we're gonna make it the best thing we can make it. And at the end of the day, I hope we have an opportunity to look back on it and say, it was wild, but it was fun. And I think that's what it's going to be.
As we're also dealing with this, Ann, it's tough because there are still a lot of things we just don't have answers to. I know that as we've tried to communicate with our student athletes, our staff, the ENH family in general, it's a lot of times there's a lot of great questions that we just don't have answers to. And I'm wondering for you right now, what are some of the still big unknowns out there for this return to play?
What I am optimistic about and truly praying for at this point is that in the next 6 months, that science and human behavior will catch up and provide us an opportunity to get back on the field. I don't think we can honestly sit here and say that COVID-19 is not going to come to campus with Emory and Henry. I mean, statistically, I'm an old math nerd, so statistically, that's not going to happen. We're going to be faced with the coronavirus in some shape, form, or fashion. But I can say with utmost confidence that our folks here on this campus, it's just not in athletics. I mean, every group on this campus has gone above and beyond to try to plan for as many different scenarios and to create the safest environment that we can possibly be for students coming back to campus. And, I'm a parent of a student here too, and I feel good about her being back on campus in the fall, because I know what the work's been this summer and what the focus has been. It's been their health and safety, the health and safety of our staff. We worry about the community. We want to be good stewards of the community, and we want people in the community to continue to support in this case, our teams. So, all those things come into play. So, I guess my biggest worry is that January will roll around and we haven't seen the light at the end of the tunnel yet. But, every time I see a mask, I think about, I'm going to put that mask on because I want to play ball at Emory and Henry. So, I'm asking everybody to do that. Everybody I see, if you want a ball game, put a mask on, because that's what it's going to take.
And not only put a mask on, but they're floating around. Go get you a cool Emory and Henry mask, because
there you go. Let me show these things off. They're cool.
Yeah, those are awesome. And it really is a great way. It's like, I think if you just embrace the mask and have a lot of fun with it. And, I have found the places that it's a great way to also support some of my friends that can make these, and businesses that I really appreciate as well. And also your alma mater. So,
well, there you go. I had to go in the bank the other day. When's the last time you could go in the bank with a mask on? Right. So there you go.
Man, you're right. So many people are just working so hard on the college campus right now for for getting us back to campus and really taking care of our students. And so I'm a hugger, and I want to go up and hug those people. But that's not a safe thing to do right now. But as soon as we get out of this COVID thing, lots of hugs are coming. You're not a hugger, but you still might get one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, in some kind of crazy fashion, the introvert in me is kind of, finding some peace in this whole personal space, this whole social distancing thing. It gives me my buffer zone that
I think people probably have asked you this, Ann, that are in and around you every day. And people are asking me as well, as they know, as I'm part of the athletics administrative team. But, we've made this decision. It's this long-standing discussion that we've been having. And I think a lot of people think that with reflection that there's going to be this great feeling of peace about things that are happening. But I don't know about you, but I don't feel that way. It's like, I feel like that it just pains me so much, but I know we did the right thing.
You do. Another member of our team asked me when I came into the office this morning, he said, did you feel a sense of relief when you woke up this morning? I said, no, I stayed awake all night worrying about the Pandora's box that it's opened since we decided to go down this path. I love Emory and Henry, and I love our kids, and I want them to love Emory and Henry and have such a good experience. And I know that it's just going to be different right now. It doesn't mean it's going to be bad. It's just going to be different. And, I just worry about being able to make it a great place for them, and I think a lot of people share that concern. And because we are so worried about it and are concerned about it, that we're going to go above and beyond to make it the best that we can make it for them.
What makes Emory and Henry special, and this, Ann, is that whenever things are tough, Emory and Henry has a way of rising up and really turning the best out that you can out of a bad situation. And so I really think that that's going to happen here.
Well, I'm optimistic, and, I can say from our staff, we're all in, and we're going to do a good job. And, we just can't wait to see those kids come back in the door. At the end of the day, that's why we're here. That's what we want to do. It's about them. And, I think I will sleep much better when they get back to campus.
I agree. Well, I want to let the entire Emory and Henry family know that there obviously are still a lot of questions out there. We are currently kind of keeping track of things that our student athletes, coaches, and community want to know about the decision to postpone and moving forward. And so we're going to be putting together some frequently asked questions on gowasp.com here in the near future. So stay tuned. And as we learn more, I promise you that we'll be passing that along. So, Ann, thanks for sharing a little more information with us about this tough decision. And thanks for joining us on the Coach's Corner.
Brent, thank you. And thanks to everybody. We appreciate your support and hope you'll continue to send your thoughts and prayers out to everybody, and especially for Emory and Henry. Appreciate it.